Hey friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
This weekend at the Royal Rumble, 30 WWE superstars will battle it out for what is undoubtedly the most esteemed title in all of sports entertainment, the WWE Heavyweight Championship.
And yet, in the annals of professional wrestling, there have been countless legends who have never held the industry's top prize.
So here you go. Here are the top 10 wrestlers who never won the WWE Heavyweight Championship.
Number 10!
Lex Luger! Hold on a second. He did win the WWF title. He beat Yokozuna. All the faces came out and celebrated when he won. I remember this.
No, he won by countout, Steve.
Oh, God.
Literally, the worst way to win a match was celebrated in the middle of the ring by the entire face roster, and he didn't even win the belt.
Yeah.
That's how crap the WWF was in the early 90s.
But he was the All-American successor to Hulk Hogan, Larson. How did he never win the world title?
Because in the end, he was just Lex Luger, the man who ran away from Bruiser Brody.
Number 9!
DiBiase! There were a wealth of WWF heels back in the 80s who were more than legit title contenders, but a certain real American kept them from enjoying their time with the gold.
According to the $1 Million Man, he was actually given the option to win the title at WrestleMania 4, but opted instead to create his own belt and have his character claim that he was bigger than the world title.
DiBiase said that was because the Honky Tonk Man didn't want to job his IC belt to the Macho Man, who ended up winning the WWF title that night.
And guess who isn't on this list?
The Honky Tonk Man.
Number 8!
Chyna! She was the only female to hold the Intercontinental title and at one point was the #1 contender to the WWE title. What's more, she was totally believable and brought excitement and prestige to the IC belt.
It's debatable whether or not women should be allowed to compete with men given today's social climate, but what's not debatable is that Chyna winning the WWE World title would have been historic.
Also, put her in the Hall of Fame, damn it! We can think of a bunch of Hall of Famers who have done way worse things in life than making sex movies. For example, Donald Trump, because every word he vomits out of his mouth these days is a detriment to the country.
Number 7!
Ravishing Rick Rude! Rude's own badassery may have kept him from holding the WWF World title. He was one of the biggest and best heels of the 80s, but he was known to be such a legit tough guy that according to legend, Hulk Hogan refused to wrestle him.
Which obviously was a problem because Hogan always had that damn belt.
Yeah, Rude did feud with the Ultimate Warrior at his peak and was like the one guy who can get a decent match out of him, but ultimately failed to capture the world title before heading to WCW, where he sadly retired in 1994 thanks to a back injury.
Sadly, Rude died in 1999, and at the time he was training for a comeback. Can you imagine a feud between him and Val Venus, who basically kind of stole his whole gimmick?
Yeah, I imagine there'd be a lot of dick-shaped props, because that was like the Attitude Era.
Number 6!
Dusty Rhodes! Most people remember a past his prime Dusty Rhodes sporting yellow polka dots when he came to the WWF in 1989, where he retired as a full-time competitor.
But Dusty actually beat WWF champion superstar Billy Graham in 1977. Sadly, the win was by countout, so he never held the gold.
That was back in the days before Vince McMahon started poaching other territories for talent, and the belt changed hands way less often. Dusty was massively popular back then. You can check out the Madison Square Garden matches on the YouTubes.
It's easy to speculate that if Dusty was part of McMahon's territory back then, he may have carried the belt for a while.
Instead, he went and booked matches for WCW, which is where the term Dusty Finish comes from. That means a match that ends without a clean winner. So, thanks for that one, Dusty, because we love those kind of matches.
Number 5!
Kurt Hennig! Mr. Perfect had all the tools to win the WWF title, and from a period in 1990 through 1991, he was the Intercontinental Champion, but a fucked up back led him to taking some time off from the ring, and that pretty much killed whatever momentum he had during his initial run of the WWF.
When he returned, the top of the card was inexplicably filled with guys like Yokozuna and Lex Luger, which probably explains why WWF went into the toilet around that period.
After more injuries derailed his in-ring career, he spent time managing and as an excellent color commentator before he finally said fuck it, jumped to WCW, where he famously swerved the Four Horsemen and joined the NWO.
It makes perfect sense to think that, had his back not taken the damage it had in 1991, he could have been in the main event picture and possibly won gold.
Probably would have done a hell of a lot better than his kid is doing now.
Number 4!
Booker T! Word has it that Vince McMahon had wanted to sign the 5-time WCW World Champ for years, and once Booker came to the WWE as part of the WCW acquisition, he had a decent career there. Not amazing, but not nearly as bad as some of the WCW guys, like Buff Bagwell.
There seems to be a thing about Vince in WCW though. Apparently if he didn't create the guy, he wouldn't let them get too high. Hell, he finally signed WCW legend Sting, and he jobbed him out to Triple H's sledgehammer at last year's WrestleMania.
That period when Booker got there was also a big mess. There were so many top guys in the company, there just didn't seem to be too much room for him. But he should have had the title, damn it. I could watch him spin a Rooney with the title around his waist all day long.
Number 3!
3.
Sting! It looks like all those years Sting refused to sign with the WWE were justified, given that the WCW legend had one of the biggest matches at WrestleMania last year and still lost to Triple H's sledgehammer.
So we can practically guarantee had Sting jumped ship in 1998 or even come over to the WWE instead of TNA back in the day, he probably would have been buried same as all the other non-WWE guys were.
But his legacy is still massive, and it's nice that he's finally going to the Hall of Fame this year, taking his rightful place alongside Donald Trump and Drew Carey.
Number 2!
Roddy Piper! Given that Piper was Hulk Hogan's most prominent foil, given that he had more charisma than anyone in the WWE history, and given that Piper had mainstream crossover success in movies like They Live, it's really surprising he never had a run with the WWF World title.
Piper always seemed like the kind of guy who didn't care though.
Yeah.
I imagine he knew he was the most entertaining guy whenever he was in the ring,
Yeah.
or fighting Keith David over a pair of sunglasses.
For 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Number 1!
Scott Hall! The bad guy made the jump to WCW in the mid-90s to kick off the Monday Night Wars. But before that, he was a top guy in one of the weakest WWF rosters ever.
It's just weird that Diesel held the belt for an entire year while Razor was putting on some of the best matches in the company as one of the most over characters in the industry.
It's even more bizarre that he never had a run with the WCW World title, but from his own words, he never cared about carrying gold, because, you know, it's all fake anyways.
But we still think it's real, and we would have loved to see Razor Ramon hold the world title, maybe by doling out a razor's edge to that sack of potatoes, Bret Hart.
And if you guys want more top 10s and wrestling talk and our pro wrestling podcast going in Raw, you can subscribe to us at the button above or in the link in the description below. Check out the Lex Luger Bruiser Brody matches in the link below.
Yeah, do that. It's hilarious.
Hilarious.